This meeting may be audio or visual recorded and broadcast on channel 8 or 12
Local cable
on
channel.
local access channel. I don't know if that's all of it. I can only picture the first couple
Well,
lines.
that's all we have. They didn't
Okay.
give us the paperwork.
Okay. Oh, sorry, let me pull up the agenda. I closed it so I wouldn't confuse myself when I was doing something else.
Is this intro a statutory intro?
Yeah,
Well, then why don't we just say we incorporate by reference the provisions of the statutory language involving recording of meetings, and then you're done. You're covered.
sounds good to me. Seconded. What he just said.
Yeah,
That's all we need to do, right?
yeah. This is a nice look though with the sun, I gotta say.
Oh, actually, that helps tremendously.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was like, I look like an angel with the big
That's great.
glow in the.
No, I meant like
Double hill.
the screen
And
and
your own screen.
glare.
There's
and
that
I got
too.
my glasses. I forgot my glasses. Not a young man anymore. I can't not have glasses.
Oh, shut up.
Okay, first move, approval of April minutes, even though I don't believe there's any changes needed, so,
Second,
perfect. I guess. Let's vote on that. Everybody vote yay to approve the minutes.
Yep.
approve the minutes?
Jim,
Jim?
Yeah. I am still not sworn in. I was gonna get sworn in on the day of town meeting. I was too late to get it done. I'll be in Eastham next week and I'll get it done then. But for
I
now,
don't think that matters, though. You can still vote.
okay. I agree to the minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, and if that's their intention and you're here, then we must have.
Oh yeah, if you met all the criteria, because I remember when I got sworn in, there was like, I was at meetings and doing things before I was even sworn in.
Okay.
100%, I think. Okay, so, reports, swap shop barriers. Oh, Jim, he's taking minutes through the AI thing, I think. Perfect.
Swap shop update. The barriers have been moved back, so there's not a traffic pinch, and we have asked for some slight modifications, and hopefully they will accommodate us.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yep.
We don't have anything to update. for-
Roughly,
Roughly,
Yeah,
yeah, no, I had a long meeting and.
yeah, good, good.
I'll tell you off.
there's not much to update in terms of I just had the solid waste meeting. I have it as here as like as a meeting item. I think that's the one, that original one. No, that's the one. That's the right one. Yeah, so we're here on B right here,
Okay.
crossover solid waste. I mean, obviously, we were all at that meeting.
Yep.
So I don't know if there's any reason to go over what we went
Yeah,
over.
we'll have
but-
another meeting at the end of the month.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But related to that, I founded biochar company literally here in Eastham called New England Biochar. If you want to look it up.
Ah,
Yeah,
it's Alicia.
Oh,
Alicia Pooh.
Alicia.
coat off here.
Hi.
Get comfortable on here. I'm uncomfortable on camera.
Don't go any further. Good
Hi,
evening.
Alicia.
Hey, let's get started. Good timing.
Thanks. Which is fine.
Well, I came in, I was like, I wasn't sure where we were, so I already fished around.
Okay. We approved the April minutes. He was talking about the swap shop barriers, how they're basically been moved. We're trying to get some openings to accommodate some things.
I have to get John to come by and actually see what our flow is,
Mhm.
because things I suggested they did not get, and so I have to send him some information. He wants to name all the swap shop volunteers for insurance reasons. And said we were really crowded. We had as many as 11 people there, and when I checked, we only have 7 volunteers for the swap shop. So it's impossible to have 11 people there. He said, we have too many volunteers. And I said, well, okay. And then when I counted the number of volunteers we have a total of 7. So we have 6. But in terms of volume, I want to invite him to come down and just see how busy we are.
What he also then needs to do is, if he thinks we have too many volunteers, that in the charge, it says we can have up to 15 volunteers for the swap shop.
Yeah, and
So
I
if that-
think we have to up the numbers anyway, so.
I was gonna do that too, so if he thinks that's too many that we have now, then.
No, he meant on site at one time. And I was like, so I have to write back to him and say,
What,
we've never had that many people
no, like
there.
how many is the limit then, 10?
No, I think it's gotta be 15, because you gotta be, have people. I don't
No, I
know the
meant for
original
like one site
boilerplate.
at one time, how many, he's saying we can't have more than how many on site at one time?
He didn't give me a number. He just said 11 was too many, and then I went
Well,
back
then
and
that-
said,
To me, that means 10 is the max. If he's not saying a number specifically, then 10 is the max, let's go
Okay.
with that.
Seems like a lot of people anyway.
I know, but like at least then we have.
but in a high summer, if we actually have
That's
correct
why I was-
flow, it's,
Exactly.
yeah.
It's easier to have people doing one task repetitively sometimes, and that means they're like kind of not helpful to the rest of the crew where we do need sometimes extra.
Right.
So sometimes I would say 10 would be fine, especially if we do make some improvements in expansion.
And the good thing is that we don't need, volunteers to make sure children don't run into traffic anymore.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
once you enter our zone,
You're in.
which is actually, it's a mitzvah, so it's a great thing.
Yeah, we'll make it work to our advantage at some point.
Yes.
And like I said, we moved over to the solid waste meeting we had. We had a solid waste meeting, since you weren't there. Do you want to give a summary of that meeting since we were all there, but you were the one that led that meeting?
You mean the work group? Yeah, sure. We've got, we have volunteers from both the recycling committee and the
Climate.
Energy and Climate Action Committee.
Yep.
And basically, it was the first meeting and we just talked about various ways of approaching the problems. And the problem is, as clearly stated, is that this is really organized around a request from the Energy and Climate Action Department because they want to get to the bottom of why Eastham's solid waste is emitting so much methane into our atmosphere. Actually, it's 5%. We later learned that
Where's that, I'm sorry, where's that 5% number come from in terms of emitting methane? Just the volume we have?
solid waste.
Okay, so based on the amount of solid waste.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Yes.
our survey that we already did.
Yeah. So, you know, the solid, or rather, the Climate and Action Committee wanted us to look into it to see if we can lower that or eliminate because that's what they're in the process of doing and putting together this climate action plan for Eastham. Is trying to get rid of as much of our carbon footprint as possible.
Right.
So, you know, it was a little bit perplexing that we've got 5% coming out of our solid waste, and we later learned that 60% of that methane is coming from food waste, which blew me away because I thought we did a great job with converting people to composting and all the outreach we did about proper recycling and stuff. So, but then there's the element of the haulers.
Right.
That come in and dump their stuff into our solid
Which
waste.
is recyclables,
Yeah.
garbage, garbage
That we have
flow,
no
and
idea
food waste.
we
So
have no idea what's
We'd
or where it
like
came
to,
from.
we'd like to help that,
or
shall
where
we
it
say.
came from. So we're in the process of breaking that down. We talked to the Board of Health, and they are talking about instituting some more regulations to regulate the haulers that come in. She wasn't specific about what those regulations would be, but they are looking at it and they're gonna make some changes apparently. And I guess there was some error in the numbers that I had for total solid waste.
Oh,
for
the
the-
almost doubling of year to year kind of thing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was not correct, according to Kim.
I know.
It's not correct, so she's gonna get me the right numbers, and I haven't heard from her yet, but she's gonna get me the right numbers. But she said it's not as alarming as those numbers show.
No, it's gone down a little bit.
Yeah,
Not a lot.
Here they are.
you got them?
This is what we make on the solid waste. If
Oh,
we make-
wait a minute, but is this the original one or an updated one? Is this the one that I got?
Yeah, it's the one we both had.
Okay, I would love to get some elucidation about electronic waste,
Yeah, me too.
because I hear two different things. I hear
I
we
know.
pay, I hear we get paid. It's a
And
hell of a
here,
difference.
I would say I trust Kim's numbers more than anyone else's at the moment, because Kim seems to be the good source of information, but.
Right, which means we pay per pound.
Correct, and so, looks like the only things we really make money on is actually Bay State Textiles, which I was like trying to get them to get a thing for us, that's our vendor. So that's kind of funny how it looped around for me, but we actually get paid for that. So textiles, how we're handling that's actually very appropriate and profitable. And I would say that if anything, we scale it up and make it a little easier and more accessible for other communities to use ours if we're gonna get paid from it.
Yeah.
Right.
Things like
Oh, yeah.
that. But again, that's like something to talk about at that meeting. And then this is we actually get a lot from cardboard. Here, you can just see it. I don't want to go over the whole thing during this meeting, because that's not what this meeting's about, but.
Right.
Yeah, those are the things for our solid waste meeting that we needed to discuss.
Hey, okay.
So like that's what we'll do the next time we have one. And then also, this is something we'll get into later, but we're trying to organize some field trips that are related to this meetings,
Mhm.
which is why we're talking about them a little bit here. And then there's a newsletter, Gwen's not here, so I don't know if would have something to present anyway, but like, obviously the newsletter went out.
Mhm.
So, I think people are seeing it.
Mhm.
I don't have any tracking data because we're not like embedding any like micro dots or anything in there to like track people, just because we don't have that capability and I don't want to dig into that anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we have, the newsletter's going out and I think it's been good. I've been looking at it and haven't had any real issues with it. I think I'm just gonna continue to let her continue to do
Oh, yeah.
where she
Yeah.
is, if
Yeah.
everyone's got it.
Yeah.
In fact, that's some of what will change with the charge as well. I think we start to delegate some of the responsibilities of the committee out more specifically to individual volunteers, so that when people do volunteer for our committee, they kind of know maybe what they're volunteering for. Because like I said, when I joined the committee, I told Gary today the story, when I volunteered, I thought we were doing something, and then I came in and I was like, oh no, we're doing something else. And then I became the chair and I was like, wait, I read the charge again. I was like, we aren't doing this. So then we pivoted. So maybe we,
Yeah.
divvy out some of the things so we help volunteers know what they're volunteering for. But like I said, I would love to keep that as like a role or somebody's volunteer duty, that we can keep that and
Yep.
let her continue to run it, and if anything, expand on it.
Can I just go back to Gary's committee?
Sure.
So what,
It's not a
It's a
committee,
work
it's just a
group.
work group.
It's a work group, yeah.
what is your work group looking to do? Have a discussion?
Well, again,
Education?
it was formed to figure out what we can do about the source of this methane going into, Eastham's atmosphere. So it's kind of centered around that, but I got kind of alarmed at the original numbers because I said it's not only methane, but it's also the amount of food waste that we're producing. Well, it's not as bad as I thought it was, as she corrected me. So now the next issue is okay, we know that 60% is coming from food waste. What do we do? So
Right.
everybody agreed, Board of Health, the DPW all agree, okay, that's our target. What do we do about it? So the three of us are supposed to be working together. Three of us being the Board of Health, DPW, and the recycling committee are supposed to be working together.
I have to reach back out to Nate Nickerson at Arnold's. I started a conversation with him last year and then, my life became crazy and I failed mightily. He was very interested in getting his organic waste processed here. Now, at the moment, I think it was about as much as the high school. We don't have the capacity at the moment to handle all of this stuff. Right, so, this does speak to seeing about, getting, scalable digesters to actually accommodate that.
Well, I can talk about that too later. In fact, it's on here, so we'll get to it. We'll talk about it.
So, we already have some clients in the waiting, because he was very amenable to, whatever it took to get the stuff dealt with properly. We didn't talk extra haulage numbers or anything, but, he was very into doing the right thing.
Right, good.
So,
Maybe that's a conversation for Black Earth. The school will cease all of, end of June, when the kids are done, we won't have any compost.
well, isn't there also discussion as to whether we want to deal with it locally if we get a digester as opposed to going to Black Earth and what they
Oh,
have as
yeah,
far as
no,
contracts and stuff? Yeah,
that's a lot of-
it stops at that point.
Just say, like, if we want to start it now, like, if we have people in place that are coming here to pick up stuff anyway, it's right on the way to pick up the garbage at the transfer station. for the
Right.
food waste.
Right.
It's not out of anybody's way.
Yeah.
High school's out of their way.
Well, like I said, and there's a whole sidebar here on that we can talk about, but before we do that, let's talk about the charge.
Yep.
I sent everybody the charge. Did everybody see
Yeah.
it?
Yep.
Yep.
I'm gonna pop it up again. Yeah, I have it done. Now it's red. I forgot. Okay. All right. I'm gonna share my screen if everyone wants
Good.
that, unless
Okay.
everyone has a copy of the charge in front of them, in which case I'll just not fumble through that. I'll still have to share my screen later because I have artwork I want to show everybody from the working group that was doing artwork, which is really all
Great.
Gwen's artwork, but
Great.
I'm gonna show it all for her at least. So everyone can see the charge.
We're good.
Okay, then I won't share. Okay, so I mean, here's the charge. It's basically says that they appoint a committee, which is the Eastham Recycling Committee. That's us. And then it consists of 5 members, plus a subcommittee of up to 12 non-voting members for the sole purpose of working at swap shop and overlapping and rotating shifts during blah, blah, blah. But it says that they should all be appointed by the Board of Selectmen every 3 years. That is no way, shape or form.
Well, let's strike that. I'll try to get further on the manual for the swap shop volunteers.
Take months.
That's what I mean. That's why I want to just, if
Well,
anyone,
the other issue. The other issue with doing that was Linda told me originally they were thinking of having everybody at the swap shop get criminally investigated before working there. That I think went by the wayside. And I don't think the volunteers need to be vetted by the
No,
committee, so we should
I
just
think-
rewrite it.
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's
Yes, I agree.
basically what I said. Yeah, so let's take out the subcommittee and overlapping, for the working in the swap shop and overlapping
Mhm.
rotating shifts during hours of operation. And then let's just put in there, I'm not gonna take it out, like delete it in this, I'm just gonna put a straight through line like you said.
Yep.
And that way, oh shoot, how do I do that? I'm gonna highlight it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can-
that'll work.
I don't even remember how to do it.
Worst case, just underline it.
Oh, here we go, check there, okay, there's just no shortcut for it, so I don't know it, I only know shortcuts anymore, I'm so old that I've been using them for years. Move something in a menu, I'm lost, okay, so I think that it's all committee members and subcommittee members, that's fine, I'll leave subcommittee members in there for now.
Yep.
Shall be appointed by the Board of Selectmen, for 3-year blocking terms, blah, blah, blah. No more, I think that's kind of in the way that the town works, so we can't change that, nor would I try to make people have longer terms or whatever.
Right.
But the specific responsibilities of the committee says shall include but not be limited to the following. Now, that's the thing where it's not limited to, but like, then where does it end? So maybe we get a little more specific with this verbiage.
Mhm.
And it says the committee will focus on encouraging recycling at the Eastham transfer station through recommendation to the DPW superintendent of innovative ways to increase the rate of recycling, including but not limited to the development with the Board of Health of new transfer station regulations, which we have not been consulted on, but I would love to be. And then with the.
Well, this is perfectly timely right now, so.
Exactly, so, but the problem is like, does anyone recognize that we should be there, is the problem, if they happen, we're just left out of the loop.
Right.
Is it really effectively part of the charge?
Right.
And that's what we're trying to investigate and then possibly alter, so. So maybe that's where we ask the question, like, hey,
That's,
is this in the charge, did you realize that maybe we should be part of this? I mean, it's possible.
so maybe I should, send out a request to Hillary, who's the director of the,
Health.
and ask her if we couldn't be part of that discussion about
Absolutely.
regulations for haulers.
Yeah,
We'd
especially
like-
since
If the
it is in the
recycling committee
charge.
would like to be part of it.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is, if it's in the charge and we're not doing it, and we don't intend to do it, let's take it out, and if it's in the charge and we can do it, let's do it, and then let's see if we can eke out a little more so
Okay.
that we can be more
I'll
impactful.
contact her.
So, I mean, yeah, maybe that's we follow up, if they say no, then we take it out, and if they say, yeah, sure, great, we leave it in. Does that sound
Can
good to
they say no?
everybody? Huh?
Can they say no, really?
I don't, see, the thing is, like, I don't think they can, but that doesn't mean they won't, or try to, so like, if we wanna change it, and they say, well, you can't change that. Well, we say, well, we were cut out of those processes when we try to get involved, so taking it out is ideally the best move to make. But, like I said, I mean, if we can get in there, I'd love to be in there, just cause I think it helps our committee work better.
But I think once you take something like that out, you've answered the question, you can't come.
I know, but I don't wanna
No
take
longer
it out, I
invited.
just wanna make sure that we can get in there, and if they say, no, you can't get in there. And we use the charge to try to get in there, and they still tell us no, then, I mean, why not take it out? Otherwise, we're just fooling ourselves.
Well,
Same
couldn't we
thing, like
ask-
they're not, you know what I mean? It's like, let's say we're taking the subcommittee out, because they're not really doing that. So like, let's just let the volunteers be managed by a appointed volunteer liaison, you know what I mean?
But couldn't we then just ask the select board to get these guys to play nicely with us? I mean,
Absolutely, and that's the plan, when we, that's hopefully what we can do.
but if the select board says, well, but you took it out of the charge, so we can't.
Well, we're not, we're
powerless.
just discussing it right now, we're not taking
Yeah,
anything out
yeah.
for sure, we're just trying to understand where we wanna go.
Gotcha.
It's all up for discussion, so we're just throwing spaghetti, so I mean, yeah, get it, let's do it, let's figure it out.
I don't think that they would say no.
I don't think they will
I just
either.
think that no one's really thought to invite. somebody to the
Exactly,
committee.
so that's where we know it's in, but like I said, let's just consider that if they tell us no for some reason. Then that's something we keep in mind and focus our charge elsewhere, where we can be effective, because. I mean, if they don't want us to play nice, like then I don't really wanna try to horn my way in either. As much as I love to be horned in for this stuff. Limited development with the Board of Health and new transfer station regulations, like I said, this is the perfect time for that. And with the Board of Selectmen, develop an evaluation of the costs and benefits of mandatory recycling, so have we done this?
No,
Okay, how would we even go about doing it?
Of mandatory recycling.
I mean, hey, I want mandatory recycling. The question is, how do we go about getting them to embrace it? And I think the way that we're going with the solid waste dealing might be the way to make it more profitable to the point where then we can come back and do that. And so maybe we keep it in there. But we put, obviously we haven't started the process, so maybe it's like we.
well, it's already a state, I mean, the state mandates everything, the county, there's no teeth for the mandate.
Yeah, but if we can make a play for how it would work, it may help us leverage it to like the benefit of the town.
Well, the guys are the towns that have the lowest solid waste problem. But the towns that have pay-as-you-go system. And I know that, that's been shuffled around a bit, but nothing's ever happened in Northeast. We haven't changed it. There was
How does that work?
That means
I'm
every
not
time you go to the
sure.
transfer station, you,
according to, Carrie Parson, this is her deal, this is her
right,
her territory. She said, pay-as-you-go can be developed in several different ways.
Yeah,
That
I'm not
best suits
opposed to it.
that best suits your town. And what you think is best for your community, so, maybe I can get her at the meeting, at the next meeting, and have her educate us on what are the options and.
Yes.
yeah, because
I
there's
mean,
a lot of moving parts
I
on
feel like
that,
that's
so it'd be
part of what's
nice to
happening.
find out.
Decisions are being made in a vacuum, and sometimes just the people who may be the best help to be there aren't, just happen not be there because they don't know that they're supposed to be there.
Right.
Which is kind of why it's like, maybe let's relook at, after Gwen's points about the solid waste, it's like, let's relook at the charge. What do we really want to be doing?
So pay as you throw. Okay, I'll set that up.
So we want to keep let's just reevaluate this, development of the evaluation of the costs and benefits of mandatory segment, because like, I mean, that could just be something we're doing, it doesn't have to be in the charge. Like, it could just be something, you know what I mean, like,
Well, it's sort of asked and answered with it being mandated. I
but it
mean,
is, no, they're saying we're trying to make a case for mandatory recycling, which we do not have now. We do not have mandatory recycling
okay,
at all.
Yep.
Just like we have mandated organic waste food waste going to specific things, but we aren't enforcing that.
right.
This would probably be one of those things that she's saying that would probably also be unenforced. But that's where it's like, should it be then part of our charge, or should it just be something that's part of our committees doing it, but it isn't part of our charge because it's sort of one of those things that like doing it once it's done and we know it's not being enforced, it's like, then why would we have
Yeah.
done it?
Yeah.
So I'll put it as an underline and we can rediscuss. Again, this is all just to be thought about, discussed again, probably. I don't think we're gonna solve everything today. I think it's just important to understand, like, what are we trying to accomplish?
Mhm.
And with all the other committees updating their charges, I thought it was kind of pertinent to do the same, since ours is 11 years old and theirs is like 2 or 3.
Mhm.
Okay, The committee shall assist the transfer station manager with the development of volunteer work hours, operating hours and regulations for the swap shop.
That has not happened in like 10 years. I mean, we self-regulate.
And I have no qualms with self-regulation. However,
Yeah.
I think then that what this means is let's just reword it
Coordinate,
Sure.
collaborate.
and let's try saying.
Why don't we just say coordinate?
The committee shall coordinate with the
Transfer
transfer
station manager.
station manager. For the,
Or how about even? Instead of the committee shall appoint a swap shop liaison.
did we appoint a stop shop? liaison?
Yes,
I wonder.
same one. From the
I didn't
get-go.
know you were appointed liaison.
Oh,
That's
no,
all.
no. When I,
He's been
I
liaison
thought you
for
just kind
years.
of went over into.
no, I was,
I did.
I think it's a couple of years ago, but you know,
Yeah,
Why-
but like,
why do
okay,
People think that Joe is.
because he posts everything.
Oh, I see.
He's the noisier one. And the liaison is supposed to be on the recycling committee.
yeah, exactly.
Joe's not a recycling.
And then that way we just have appoint a swap shop committee to develop and then document development of volunteer work hours, and then communicate that.
Yeah.
However
Right.
we wanna write, I'm outlining, or massage the language as we think about
Right,
it, I just
right.
think.
Well,
it's
just
important.
say, you could just say, and coordinate with the transfer station manager.
Yeah. Or. Appropriate contact, just. He may say that, oh, well, this is the person I want you to contact, so that way we just say appropriate, we don't box ourselves into not compliant.
Right.
Perfect, well, at least it's something to kind of think about as well, like I said. And then as part of this task, the committee shall develop written protocols and train volunteers, we actually have some of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a skeleton
Training
that John
manual?
gave me, and then I actually, while working at the swap shop, found the volunteer handbook for the museum. And so I incorporated that into our handbook, so that is actually the format of our handbook, and I gave him a printed copy, but there's a whole bunch of tags in there. So that in the future, we can add roles, because in their handbook, it had like every role and what the guidelines of that role were, so that volunteers knew what they were getting themselves into. But right now, we kind of have every role as a floater role. So there's no point in outlining roles for it. So
Right,
it's
right.
there and it's ready to go for like an expansion. As of now, it's a very brief guidelines with like, safety and stuff. There's not
Okay.
much else. It would be a functional handbook as is. I think it still looks a little
It's pretty scant.
sad because
Yeah.
it's pretty scant, yeah. So there may be ways to go over it further, but I think that it still would function in the way that what we had anyway was functioning.
So the goal is to create a training manual for these?
Yeah.
A
essentially
manual,
just-
a handbook,
Yeah.
yeah.
Whatever you want to call it, it'll all be the same thing anyway. There'd just be guidelines for how it would function, so that way there's not like this tribal knowledge that currently goes on. Nothing wrong with people knowing things, but when only certain people know it and then they give it up or retire or whatever, it's hard to keep things like that going because they were the ones that held it. So I'm just trying to document some of it.
Okay.
And I haven't gotten a chance to chat with the ladies who are doing a lot of that work to document it further, to like lay out what it is so that I can find people who are willing to that I want them to train or to continue that work, but do that work solo while they're doing other things are being done by more junior volunteers. I want them to be supervising essentially, eventually, if I can get them to embrace that role. I think it will be easier if John approaches them about it than.
There was talk of going back to the old swap shop hours. We compressed them post pandemic. And when I first started volunteering, we were 9 to 2. And I worked half a shift. Nobody came in for the whole thing. So we compressed the hours, all of a sudden the number of bodies we needed dropped precipitously. There is probably sufficient demand in the summer to expand the hours. which probably would not be a bad thing, because every time we're closing, somebody shows up with a full car.
And a lot of stuff, and it's like, now what?
Well,
So maybe we do a seasonal thing when we can get more bodies and when we actually have more throughput.
it was only an hour difference. I mean, it was 10 to 2 before, so now you're only.
No, it was 9.
Oh, it was 9.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 9 to 2.
Yeah, it was.
Cause I was in yoga until, until my shift started, so I was never there at night.
Yeah.
But no, that's probably worth pursuing.
We also may do like an alternative, like drop off only days is a possibility to manage throughput if needed. Again, if we have the volunteer base for that.
Well, but also that goes hand in hand with storage.
Yes, exactly. Again.
So
a lot
we're
of
waiting to
this-
see how,
Yeah.
when do we find out about that grant?
Not till like by the end of June.
Okay.
In the meantime, I'm trying to, I mean, we're gonna do a fundraiser, but I'm also personally trying to just raise $3,000. That I can then just buy a ship it container and just have it delivered as like a not-just gesture. So, but again, that's all a little off the task of what we're working on. But like, yeah, so we have the developing the protocols for the training and volunteers to a degree. It says a volunteer handbook. I would say that's, I'm saying, well, let's leave it because we've done it and we're going to continue to do it. I think we should.
Mhm.
Develop protocols for outreach to social service agencies for them to request items. I think this is something that is important, but the swap shop is doing it. It just needs to be documented better.
Mhm.
And that's where we need to get legacy data from people who are been there and doing it.
Well, no, we only have. We only have sort of one person that picks up specifically stuff, this woman Barbara that takes care of takes care of Army people that are transferred to Cape Cod. And they show up with no dishes, no appliances, no nothing. So we've been doing that unofficially for her for the last couple of years.
That's not true. The ladies also funnel toys to a couple different things because I've helped them load toys before.
No, this is true as well. Yeah.
So like there's other things they are doing. I just want to document them. I don't want to stop them from doing them. I want to expand these things.
No, we just need a database of what people need
Exactly. We
and
just
a
need
way
to
to.
know how to document. So I would say we can keep this. We just need to be a little better about doing it.
So can we just change the language because we don't need to develop a protocol for it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just say, take that out.
Yeah, let's say, instead of develop, let's just say like,
Collaborate with social service agencies.
yeah,
for them
exactly.
to-
Perfect.
Yes.
Smell that. I'm sure you're documenting it much better than I am. However, social service agencies for other request items for use by their clientele. That's perfect, because then it like also we can kind of put feelers out as a swap shop for items. And you know, that's where we can use the social media that I don't really like to say like, these are the items we're
Swap shop
keeping.
needs dishes.
Yeah, exactly, and maybe that will get people to bring those things in more readily. In fact, we can even trade, if we can get a voucher program going in the future, I'm thinking we trade vouchers for people bringing items in.
Sure.
Especially if we go to a pay-as-you-drop system, because then the voucher's worth a certain value of drop.
Right, then we reward them for good behavior.
Exactly.
Yep.
So there could be a way we feed this into like some kind of loop.
Mhm.
And then it says, work with appropriate local, county, and state agencies and employees to secure funding for educational materials and events to educate about and encourage opportunities for further diversion of reusable items from the waste stream. That's very
Let them
important.
really belong.
And it doesn't really mean anything, I'll be honest.
You
I'm
can
gonna-
really combine those two, the prior one and this one. One is NGOs and the other one is government.
I think I just italic it because it's looking at the, I'm gonna see if there's a way to massage these two into one.
And
thing.
I'll try to rewrite it as well, because.
Yeah, everybody take a crack at it. I'm open to all things. We'll combine it all at the end and evaluate it again. This is something that's gonna take a couple meetings, I think, to work out. I think it's a worthwhile endeavor as we.
Yep.
Start to expand what we wanna do and have a little bit of a bigger view.
And the next bullet speaks to what you just talked about in the top, about being invited to the meeting.
Yeah, exactly. That's where it's like, okay, I wanna keep this in there because I wanna do it, but it's like one of those things that's just not happening. So hopefully we can just be a squeaky wheel at that with Gary's help and get involved with them and say like, hey, this is what we're supposed to be doing. What is our charge? We wanna do it.
And it probably shouldn't say review, we should reword the word review, like.
It says
we're-
continue to as well, and
We're
it's
not
like,
reviewing their.
yeah,
work.
exactly. Well, it's also continue to, we haven't done it at all, so.
Well, so, just, I mean. once
I
you
also
reach
don't
out-
like the use of the word will, because like it's legal, like shall, personally.
Okay.
shall review. Transfer station hauling costs and resident fee structures and recommend changes to the, what's the BOS, just to be,
What is BOS?
for the consideration as and when appropriate. I don't even know what that really means. Jim,
Yes,
BOS,
what's the,
Board
what
of
do you think the
Selectmen.
BOS is?
Board of Selectmen, I guess, no?
Oh,
Thank you. Okay.
we should spell that.
I'm doing it right now, oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Maybe
That's not very
transfer that to
professional.
members of the select board. Instead
Yep.
of BO.
Members of the select board.
Yeah, I left it, I just filled it in for the time being and we'll edit it and fix it later, so we know what it is.
That language needs to change.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just not changing it
No.
specifically. at the
Guys, I've got a
moment.
call I've got to take. I'm sorry.
No worries,
Go,
no
go.
worries.
Thank you.
Hello. I don't think he's leaving.
No, it's staying.
Okay, and then recommend changes to the hauling costs and stuff like that, that's fine. I guess as long as, again, that kind of pertains to what we were talking about with.
Well, if we're not at the table, then we don't have any usable input.
Yeah, but we can restructure this whole sentence to be like, work with these people for these things and just put bullets to what they are rather than just like contrivance, like. Of what we're doing.
So
Yep.
we should be supporting the transfer station, so we should
Right.
say something about supporting them in the work of blah, blah, blah.
Assist, support, yeah,
Yeah, I get,
Take
yeah,
your verb.
agreed.
yeah.
Because right now they kind of view us as like this extra thing that's like in the way or trying to.
And this looks like we're a top-down thing here, as
Exactly,
opposed to we're
that's why I
not
think
sitting at the
maybe
table, so.
exactly, maybe we just start to make it a little more like, hey, we're working with you guys and not. Cause like, there's no reason that our swap shop volunteers can't also be DPW volunteers if they're younger or fitter and they wanna do more volunteering of some kind, or they're interested in that process. In the future. I don't know if I know they're short of labor,
Yeah, they are.
There's
So, like,
licenses that go with that,
Chronically.
yeah, that's true.
And
Like,
liability issues and everything else.
There could
yes.
there could be a system of like, you get started on that and then you eventually work your way in, hey, I don't know. If that's something that people are interested in, especially if we start making traffic profit, and people wanna get in.
Yeah.
Shall prepare a review this yearly summaries, that you have to do that.
Right.
That's fine. And then shall consider existing regulations, bylaws, policies and procedures in developing their proposals. Yeah, of course, and necessary enforcement recommendations, methods of cost savings anticipate. I feel like that could be reworded to just be a little cleaner. But I don't, it's just a really long sentence.
Yeah, but it doesn't hurt, it's their legal cover, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, if it's, we obviously want to consider existing regulations, we can't work outside that, so
Right,
maybe we say the committee shall be, all existing regulations by law, blah, 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 shall be applicable to the committee and its endeavors, and that
Right.
would be the same exact thing, right?
Yep.
I mean, maybe they have to get them to approve that language, but I feel like,
We'll have to
yeah, it's like one of those.
I feel like this needs a lawyer's touch.
Of
that
course,
tail
they'll
end,
they'll
so.
have to pass it through legal, of course. And
Right.
then the town administrator shall designate its staff support for this committee, which may include but not be limited to staff at the Board of Health and Department. And that's the two people, I guess, would be considered the support people. And that's probably something we need to keep in, because that's the town administrator doing that,
Mhm.
so.
order of
Oh, gotcha.
trying to keep us on track.
Yeah, I mean, so is there any other additional things that we think are worthwhile putting in there or exploring putting in there?
No, I think it's just rewriting boilerplate the way.
I also included,
rephrasing it,
if the
rewriting.
committee says consists of 5 members, I think we should expand it to 7. Since we have 2
Yeah.
alternates, just make it
Yeah.
7.
That's what you mentioned earlier
Yep.
today. Yeah.
And then, since we're removing the 12 subcommittee as well, that sort of makes the committee more like the other committees, which are 7.
Ah,
And then, I would also suggest maybe we outline some roles of people in the committee besides, we still didn't really outline the swap shop liaison, but that is one of the people. And then I think maybe we outline a couple other roles that way the committee has some like clear defined people that will be helping out in that way. Maybe there's a point of contact that's available. I think that one of the big issues I think that's happening, and I don't know, but I think the point of contact is being sort of lost in the ether of who's supposed to be in contact with who and when. So maybe if we outline it in here, they'll at least know like, hey, I can look it up on the website, who that person is and get in contact with them easier.
Well, you can put I mean, there's no defined
Role.
chair, secretary, anything like that. Like,
Other chairs, other ones do
Right.
though. We, for some
So,
reason, we don't. Maybe
why
that's,
don't- I mean, I think having a committee secretary obviously is really.
of
important
course,
because
secretary.
By law, we have to submit minutes and agendas to the town to post by deadlines and. so-
Okay, I'm just writing roles down in the
Yeah.
charge at the moment. So
Mhm.
I got secretary, we got outreach. I think that's a person that could be like a work. That's, we give that person roles, not in the charge, but like in general in our outline of our documents we do have.
Yeah.
That like that person would be in charge of one thing, like secretary's obviously in charge of minutes and notes and stuff like that. How about we have the liaison?
Yeah,
Shop liaison.
should we acknowledge the collaboration that we have with the Energy and Climate?
I
Action
was
Committee?
thinking, yeah, I was gonna say
Let's
climate
acknowledge
action
that
committee
collaboration.
liaison as well.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, we could even redefine that instead to other, environmental or,
Other committee liaisons.
well, we don't wanna have to have a liaison with every committee, other environmental committees.
Mhm.
That way, if there's other ones, cause like technically the open space committee is also sort of an environmental committee, but we're doing conservation work. And some of what some of the other committees are doing may impact them. So in our case, we don't need a liaison, but having it, the other environmental committees included may, depending on what other charges may shift in the future, how that may work, we may want one, so.
Let me ask you this, do we need to insert something to the effect that, where the recycling committee deems it necessary, form a work group to address a specific task or something like
I
that?
don't have to write that in the charge.
Yeah,
No?
I mean, we can just freelance that, I would think, as
Okay.
long as we're not in violation of any of these.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
And the work group is purposely.
Nebulous.
Nebulous, so we can talk about things off the cuff as opposed to being in an open meeting.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So we can move things around more easily that way, I think.
So, okay, I think that's some stuff. I'll start reworking some of this. Everybody do their best at what we're doing and then we'll like sort of. I think combine, that's the way that they do it in the environmental, other committee anyway. They all sort of. Just merge documents sort of.
Sure.
So I think that's the best approach, just because it'll give us a bunch of perspectives, and then also anything you think also could be added, let's see if we can add it to like round out the role of what we really want to be accomplishing, because. We make no mention in the charge of doing any kind of like. What any specific outreach may be, like maybe we mention windmill weekend, maybe we mention a composting seminar once a year to give us some obligations, because. What I really want to do eventually is build this into something where we can ask for a budget. Even if it's a yearly like grant we can get from the state and just like, here's what our committee does, can you fund us like $600?
Yeah, well, it also
Something.
helps. Like
Exactly,
Jen,
exactly. It
Yeah,
helps us, exactly.
Right, right.
Anything we define that we're gonna do and then stick to is gonna help us, and I think some of our points are a bit nebulous, is really my problem. And then, like I said, Gwen brought up the solid waste, but it's like in there nowhere does it specifically mention us having any purview over actual solid waste, just rates. And for whatever reason, if we don't, we would in theory want the rates to be low. So we don't really know what our goal is there.
We'll continue to look at it. Field trips.
Yeah, actually, that brings me to the next thing. I think we can move on from this. It's a good start to discussion.
Mhm.
Jim's still on, but hold on, let me bring back up the thing. So I found a company local here in Eastham. Oh wait, no, sorry. We want to organize a trip to CMAS, which is where our trash goes. I'm only mentioning it here because if anyone's interested, I'd like to extend invitations to them. It is by no means a committee thing that we're definitely doing. It's just something that we all talk about these things, and they're all very abstract concepts. And I think a field trip would help everyone put a little, this is what's happening with your things. And I actually just thought of something. I'm gonna say it out loud so it gets documented. So I don't, if I forget, I can look at the minutes. What if we try to reach out to their public relations office and go from it from that perspective?
Where?
CMAS. I'm having trouble contacting them. They don't have, like, they got bought by a larger
Yeah.
company. And so now when you reach out, you get someone in New Jersey who's like,
Who doesn't want anything to do with
yeah,
it?
exactly. They couldn't care
I
less
have
than
somebody at CMAS.
you do.
I did.
Are they still there?
I don't know. It's a while ago, right?
Yeah, it's a while ago.
A long time ago. Well, no, it was, yeah.
Back in another
If you
lifetime.
do, please, if you have the contact and they're still there, please let me know. I've been
They
trying to
were
reach out.
awesome.
Yeah, I've been using their like forms to like contact the companies and it's just been going above them.
I'll go back and look.
Yeah, perfect.
I'm sure it's documented.
But yes, we're hoping we can organize a field trip to see several things. How they check the trash, like in terms of they always assess the trash load, like what's in it. How they're doing that, I think it'd be
They
interesting.
have it
to
on
see.
YouTube.
Yeah, I know, but I think again, it may be helpful to see.
You
the
wanna
whole
go see it?
process.
Who
Yeah.
wants to see it?
And then they have like some machinery, I think would be helpful to see as well,
Yes.
as just again, we're talking about all these concepts, sometimes it's easier to put an actual thing going on.
Okay.
And then that field trip aside, another field trip I'd like to take is to a company that's right here in Eastham, New England Biochar. They are a biochar company right here in Eastham. I won't say their address on here because it's all on the record and stuff for them. But they are manufacturing machines that do biocharing, which is exactly what the compost machines are. And they manufacture biochar to great success here in Eastham. So I went there and they showed me the whole thing. They took me through the factory where they make the machines. They showed me the process to do the biochar. And the guy said that I could arrange a trip to see the machine in action so that we would kind of understand the process. Which I think again would be very helpful for people to see the products coming out of it. Because right now, again, I'm speaking where I know. And then like I'm trying to convey these like images in my mind and paint word pictures that I'm not very effective at doing. So I think seeing that stuff would really be helpful because like it's amazing. I was like raving about it to everybody who I could talk to that when I went there. It was-
You know, talking to you and reading the description on their website, I got the impression that they were not necessarily pointing this to compost, but as much as reutilizing wood and paper. So where's the tie-in? Can they expand that?
No, so here's the thing, they're doing what's called a wood gas generation, and that is essentially what composting is. It's a pyrolytic process. Now, because they make this equipment, that gives us the option of saying, hey, and I went and spoke to the man, his name's, again, I won't say his name, sorry, I don't wanna out people and stuff. But I went and spoke to the man, and he basically indicated that yes, this process could be used for these things.
Oh, so you
And-
can't change.
Yeah, of
what
course,
you
he was
do.
showing me
Okay.
some of the feedstocks, like they use wood. And showed me what it looks like when it goes in, looks like it comes out. Again, it would be very useful for everyone to see it. And then what they do to it to make it look like dirt. And it looks like, I mean, like I said, I was telling Gary, I went and I put my hands in it. And I mean, it's dirt.
He wanted
but,
to
like,
eat it.
like I said, it looks so good. I was just like, I wonder if it tastes good.
And
'Cause
that's,
it kinda
that's
has
in
that
short
smell,
supply
like-
here since
Well,
our dirt
he
is
has a patch of
clay
land.
and sand.
He
and we're
showed me what
missing
the dirt
silt.
looked like when he bought the property in 1983.
Yeah.
It honestly is like a lush place. It's like an oasis in the middle of a weird forest desert area. It's like, cause he's like, this is the dirt, you know, it looks like my yard.
Right.
And then he showed me like the patches of land he treated in his garden and the plants are huge. And I was just like, what is that? I was just in awe. Anything you want to show me, I went to see. But like the guy he's worth talking to, he went down to the Amazon and he studied the black earth that was down in the Amazon. That's where this has all come from, sort of his interest in it. And so like, yeah, but I think it's worth seeing because it could show us what we could be doing. The town has plenty of feedstock. Like, for instance, the open space has all that wood on the ground that they want to reuse.
Yeah.
This biochar process, if it's modified or even used as is, would be better for the soil in those areas than just leaving the wood on the ground. The
Okay.
question is, how do we reduce the cost? Because obviously that's a labor cost of getting the wood, there's a labor cost of processing it. But like, if that's a municipal process, that reduces that cost, but also not only works to benefit us greatly as a community by having biochar access, but also then being able to like keep these areas good, but constantly feeding the soil.
There is a large issue with the park system here. In that, like anybody managing forests these days, you know, where you do controlled burns, you cut fire breaks and stuff so that if something natural happens. But I was under the impression that they have way more wood to
You
a
should- I'll
dangerous
tell you what.
level to where they need to deplete it, which might also tie into the National Park Service. Because,
Let's keep focused.
Yeah, but
right,
like,
no, but I'm just saying, yeah, yes, sorry.
essentially, it's a process worthwhile seeing because it has many uses for our committee and reducing solid waste.
Right.
So, yeah, that's the New England Biochar. If anyone's interested, we'll try to arrange a trip. I want to bring it up to a couple other committees to get as many people at once. That way the guy doesn't have to answer the questions many times.
Right.
So anyone that's interested in going, we'll do that. And then I'm gonna skip over the farmer's market because that's where I was gonna extend it to Glenn to do whatever. I do have the artwork, and since I'm not sharing my screen, I'm just gonna show everybody the artwork we have. We have 3 images that we developed as a working group. Jim was in that working group as well, so he might know what the images are, but yeah, basically, I'm not sharing my screen like I said that.
Okay.
We have one that's called Green Windmill.
Oh, yeah. Mm.
Okay,
Everybody see it?
right,
Jim, do you have these images?
Yes,
In his email, he definitely would.
Yeah.
And then we have one called Brown Roof Windmill. Again, don't worry about the backgrounds. I'm working on making them transparent. The black one's actually easy to do. The white ones are the difficult ones.
right.
But
Okay.
this one's called Brown Roof Windmill. I just named it based on what they look
It
like.
looks so Dutch.
It does look very Dutch. And this is stuff that Gwen generated
Right.
using Chat GPT or something. I actually can't get anything approximating this coming out of it. Every time I submit something, it looks like a child drew it. So
Okay,
and then this one I just called Brown Windmill. I kind of like this one. I think she's using this on the newsletter.
okay.
But like these are the 3 versions. I think we need to pick one so that we can start figuring out which one we want to get printed on things. I know she wants to do the farmer's market, and I don't want to hold her up on having things to fundraise
Is there a
with.
start date on the farmer's market?
I don't have one. I
Okay.
actually think
That's
there's
just
still some stuff going on about it. I don't even know if it's 100% yet.
Okay.
Personally, I mean, maybe, I don't know.
Right.
But I want to
Okay.
empower her as much as possible to do this stuff. So, I figured we should pick one. So does anyone have a preference for any of them?
I don't like the second dark one. I would go.
You don't like the green?
No, I don't think it reads very well. I think the first and the third one
The
would be my preference.
dark one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
we like the one that one and the one you just had. I think
Oh,
that,
the black one?
That
Well,
one's a
again,
bit
the background's
easier.
black on it, but it's not black.
Yeah, but
maybe in terms of expense of reproducing and so on, the one green one would be the easiest one to pull off.
It's kind of my other concept.
Right,
was
right,
that
single
this
color
And
as
that would look good
opposed
on
to- this
that would look good
single
on like
color
white
easy.
t-shirts, gray t-shirts, white labels.
yep,
Okay.
that gets my vote.
Call it?
What's it?
What'd you call it?
Green windmill.
Green windmill.
Yeah.
There's a green windmill, brown windmill, and green brown windmill, basically.
That's okay.
Okay, no, it's all good. It's good that we documented that we all sort of agree on the one at least.
Okay.
Okay, so I will, that's gonna be the one that's more difficult to make transparent, of course, but I will do my best to make it transparent for use, and then I will get it to somebody to get quotes on screen printing. Tariffs are down right now, so it might be a little easier to get quotes that aren't gonna be outrageous.
Does anybody that we know have a screen printer? Then why don't we just buy it and have somebody to do the printing? And then,
Oh, I thought you meant, do we know a screen printing guy?
oh, no.
Oh, I mean,
A lot
I
of
do
people
know.
own screen printers. Gwyneth might have one.
I think she said her son might.
I mean, people buy them for gifts now because kids have so many sports that parents are just buying the sticker, the pressing thing. They
Oh,
press
and they're
the
doing
shirts
it themselves. I gotcha.
And I have a vendor for stickers or whatever, so.
Oh, okay. Well, that's perfect then. I mean, cause I have a company for stickers, but I don't think they're in the US, so now they're like, might be a problem.
It's a school thing.
Oh, perfect. So, okay, we have a possible
T-shirts and
sticker. I was
stickers,
thinking,
that's all I do.
instead of going right to t-shirts, we should probably try tote bags at the farmer's market, cause it seems like you're at the farmer's market, buy a tote bag.
Right.
And then that would also give us something that's not a shirt, but we worry about sizing and fitting and all those things. I do wanna do a shirt, but we have no artwork for the back yet. And I don't wanna hold up anything based on weight. I do like the local treasure idea, but everyone wants to get an exact representation of the swap shop, so I feel like we need to get someone to come down, take some good, reasonable pictures of it, and then give that to an artist to do. Otherwise, we're just hoping on an interpretation of what someone thinks it looks like. And that's what I was originally kind of hoping, because that would be a little easier. But if we want to do an exact, that's fine too. Let's just get some, figure out pictures or something. How do we want to present it? And then how do we want to do it? Because I don't want to be photorealistic, but maybe we can apply some kind of filter to the picture then. And just sort of shade it or something to look drawn. I don't know. Again, when Gwen's back, we'll have a more in-depth discussion on that amongst the working group and present some options. So, are you also part, or are you the one that said green windmill? Never mind. I just want to make sure you didn't get excluded on the vote. Okay, I like green lemon almost, actually. I kind of like the brown top, but
Yeah, but James Point is pretty.
yeah,
standard.
exactly. And
Yeah.
as a production guy, that's my.
And brown, you never know how it's actually gonna come out.
That's fair. If you change
You
the
can
color of
always
the
get
shirt, the
green
brown
nice
can
and
look
sharp
beige,
and
or it can
crisp.
look green, or it can look something else.
Yep.
Yeah, good point. Because brown's not gonna be yeah, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody have any new business? Okay, well then, the next meeting is at Eastham Town Hall, June 17th, hopefully. Let's hope. That is it, and
Motion to adjourn.
perfect,
Second.
excellent.
Voila.